What is up, everybody? Justin with the Real Alaska Podcast, coming to you episode number 21 with
Ben Persinger.
Yeah. Grab that mic a little bit closer, buddy.
Alrighty.
There we go. You can swing that arm a little bit too if you want.
All right.
There, just
Perfect.
Bring that bad boy in.
Okay.
There you go. Shot.
Right.
You got to point it at yourself, man.
Okay, I know. That's sketchy.
Well, hey, Justin, the host of the Real Alaska Podcast, and my lucky sidekick over here.
What's up, Tyler Bogert? It's really bright at this table.
Yeah.
Turn the lights on. And it's like, yeah. I gotta grab my Red Bull. Hold on.
Yeah. Anyways, well, welcome to the show, man. Happy to have you on here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Talk, construction.
Yeah, so that's pretty much my life at the moment.
Yeah. Do you want to tell everybody kind of what you do and what your company does?
Yeah, so I run a residential construction company. We do all types of, lots of remodel and stuff at this point. I've done new construction stuff in the past, but mostly what I do right now is residential building. So remodels, like that kind of kind of the gamut of those right now. So
okay,
yeah, so that's kind of in a nutshell what I do now, and I've been doing this since 2017. So we started this one.
Awesome,
so,
man.
Yeah.
But your background isn't always construction.
Correct, yeah. So I kind of took a wayward, winding path to get to where I'm at. I was actually listening to some of the podcasts that go on here, and it was interesting to hear like how people's progressions go through there. That's one of the really interesting thing about your podcast is hearing what other people's
their story, like where
is.
they went or how they got there.
It's kind of cool, man. Like most business owners didn't really plan out that's what they want to do.
Yep.
It's just kind of
happens.
They kind of just fall into it, or like something happens in their life, or someone comes along in their life where they're like, "Well,
I should do this," and then the next thing
guess,
you're in it, so whether you want to be or not. So
yeah. So your background. So grew up in Alaska, maybe?
No, I didn't actually. I grew up in Yukon, right across the border in Canada.
Oh,
so
a Canadian, eh?
Yep,
close enough.
Yep.
They're our neighbors.
So, I grew up there until I was about 16 or so, and I started building basically when I was probably 13 or 14, started building houses. I lived out in the sticks, so I did everything: logging, building.
Build of sticks?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep, pretty much. So worked for lots of old school contractors out there, just doing whatever. And then, I did that. I moved to interior Alaska, kind of based out of Delta Junction area, and then I just traveled for work building all the time at that point. So I did that, I think, in 2002 or something like that. I moved there, and I worked for a big mill up there, and I would build log homes all summer, and then I did blacksmithing all winter, so I did wrought iron railings and stuff like that. I had a buddy that did that, so
man,
it's kind of unique though, because I've heard so many, like from Delta, for example, like Delta, the interior, that side. There's so many like craftsmen out there that it's hard to believe. I've hung out in Delta quite a bit, and there's some interesting folks that are super good at like something.
Yep.
I'm sure they're like, there's probably not a lot of businesses to provide that, so you just have to like
expand.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, you kind of do. And that's being where I grew up. That's a lot of what I just kind of got into it. My parents weren't builders or anything. They ran other businesses and stuff like that. So I kind of got into it because I had friends that were in it, and they just kind of took off, and I just got a kind of a passion for doing it. So I kind of did that. Then in 2006, I think it was, I moved to Anchorage to go to school, and I went into I have an accounting degree and a business degree, and worked in public accounting, did tax and audit work for about 4 years or 5 years.
Not construction.
So not construction. Yeah.
Probably makes them a great GC though.
Yeah. I mean, it's
budget's tight.
Tight, hopefully, yeah. I mean, it's a different animal for sure.
Except for those last few years.
Yeah.
Those price increases probably.
It's just repricing stuff is a brutal deal right now. Just trying to get stuff dialed in and keeping stuff on track is insane with the markets the way it is right now. So, but so it's a different. yeah, it kind of took a wayward path, and then I ended up getting back into project management of large custom builds for a company, and then that job just kind of dried up because they ran out of some contracts, and I was like, okay, I need a job or something. This was in 2017, and I have rentals and I do other things. I've been building that up over a while, and so I wanted something I could kind of do my own thing and work on my other projects as well. So that's what kind of precipitated into me starting a construction company. So,
well, that's cool. So, trades into CPA, accounting work, and then back into trades.
Yep. And I did 2 different kinds. I did audit work for 2 years. So I traveled nonstop, and I was like, yeah, that's tough when you're having a family and kids and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I had already traveled for years for work. So I was like, I think I was going into like my 8th year of travel for work, and I was like. Yeah, and my first kid was on the way, and I was like, I'm done. Time out.
I can get that.
So I went and did tax work after that, and I enjoyed the tax work, but I didn't love sitting in the office all the time. So it just just too many hours at a desk. It was like, man, I enjoyed it when I enjoyed being in the field. Even if I had the perfect crews and stuff that I wasn't in the field very much, I would still want to be in the field at least like 30% of the time actually swinging a hammer or doing stuff just because I enjoy it,
Yeah.
So keeps you on keeps you sharp in what you need to be doing. So
I couldn't, a desk job, man, I couldn't do it either.
It's tough, man.
Honestly,
I started having health issues with it because, just sitting, like literally I had more back issues doing that than I do doing back-breaking work right now.
Right.
Just sitting at a freaking
desk. Sedentary kind of deal. Yeah.
It's always your lower back. Your feet start going to sleep. You're like, what is wrong with me? I'm like, I think my legs are going to sleep. This isn't good. I should be getting up and walking around.
Yeah. Standing desk. That's where it's at, man.
I think I need to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, and it's it's funny because you always hear the big gripe that people have with getting into trades. Oh, it's hard on your body. It's like sitting at a desk is not good on your body neither. I know lots of people that have been at a desk job their whole life, and they're on like their knee surgery, their back surgery.
Dude, 100%, man. At the end of the day, listen, we're all fucked, okay?
Yeah, pretty much. You don't get out of life alive.
Yeah, there's 2 constants, right? Death and taxes. 100%. So. Well, so you've been doing construction since 17.
Yep.
Obviously, the last few years has just been bonkers.
Yeah, it's been nuts.
Every business has just been boom or bust.
Yep.
So our previous podcast, people have come on and been restaurant owners and tourism companies.
Boy, those guys just got hammered.
They got hammered, right?
Yeah.
But in the construction world, trades took off.
Yeah.
Hourly rate of trades took off. Materials sucked getting.
Yeah,
but
we couldn't find anybody to do the work.
we still have a hard time.
It is, yeah. And you can't find people, and honestly, a lot of people aren't getting into the trades. That's one of the biggest things. Like I watch. Most of the guys out there, there's not a bunch of 20-year-olds.
Come on, man. That liberal arts degree is going to do a whole lot for you.
Ben's like, screw this. I'm doing taxes.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, no. It's an interesting time. I've been watching it kind of to see what happens. I'm always interested to see what the trends are in the hiring situation and stuff. But yeah, it's been interesting. It's very tough to get good people that want to get into this stuff, which is interesting because you'd think there would be a demand for good paying jobs that you don't have to pay a bunch and get $100,000 in the hole in student loans to have. It's like, I tell people that are wanting to, should I get into this? I'm like, hell yeah, dude. Even if you go to college, you pay your way through college, go work the summers, bust your ass and go home.
Seriously, man.
You don't come out with $100,000 in the hole.
Yeah.
It used to be that way in Alaska, though. You would have a lot of people that would come out of like high school and go into a trade job for the summer and work like temp jobs all summer to pay for school.
And do flagging or whatever.
That's literally how I got it.
Flaggers get paid so much.
Yeah, and they work like 15-hour days. So it's like
standing there in the rain.
Yep.
I see
it's
them.
Not fun.
I'm like, man, that looks not exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Middle of Cooper Landing or something in the rain, just standing there.
They make bank.
They make a lot of money. Davis Bacon, flaggers.
Yeah.
I would probably stand in the cold for 15 hours a day to get what they get. It's
Well,
pretty
you got
sweet.
opportunities. You know, the contract thing doesn't work.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's pretty apparent that everybody needs jobs. So even if I want to go try every job under the sun, I probably could.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing right now. I mean, if you want to get into it, I mean, it's, I know there's a whole like gig economy and everything that people are talking about and all that. It's interesting to see how that, I'm interested to see how that plays out. I mean, it's, there's great opportunities with it, but there's also, it still becomes a job. It's like to be successful at gigs, you still got
to work.
You become self-employed at some point.
And I think that's kind of like where we're finding, obviously here we are, episode 21, right? So we've chatted with a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. Just people don't want, they want the money.
They just don't want to work for
it. They want the outcome. Just they don't want to produce the input that creates the outcome, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of why we started this show, because people see business owners and entrepreneurs after they've started becoming or having some success, don't really understand the extreme amount of like 15, 18, 20-hour days sometimes
100%.
for years that it took to build that business, right? And they feel like they can just replicate that, turn a switch. Next thing they know, they've got a successful business and like realize,
it's all this instant gratification on the internet.
This is true.
I feel like, the social media thing feeds it tremendously.
Big time,
Well, I just saw this TikTok reel.
It's like, I mean, between the dating apps and then
social
media and the media pushing everything, right? Yeah. Like, I feel like people think that money is just you. I mean, like you can go out and make $1 million just like that. Yeah, and be anyone without having to do really anything for it, right?
Yeah, 100%. You can start this drop shipping business and make millions of dollars,
right?
From your
100%. Like, oh my God, just sign up for this scam online. Sounds great, right?
Send us their $2,500 and we'll teach you how.
Yeah. So that's why we, like we said before, we created this just because the story behind every entrepreneur and business owner is typically not rainbows and unicorns.
100%. Yep.
And it's typically not what they originally signed up for. They weren't like in kindergarten at 5 years old and be like, I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
I want to be a general contractor.
Now they're like, I want to be a Kardashian.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah.
What?
It's interesting. It's awesome you guys have done this. You actually kind of, since you said it, invited me on here, I went and listened to several of the podcasts that I hadn't heard, and it was cool to hear, because I know obviously a number of the folks that were on the show.
I think people forget that like it's not all sunshines and rainbows in business. Like there's some tough times. I've been an entrepreneur for at least 5 years now, and I can't believe where I am now from where we started. So
yeah. And it's good, actually. It's cool to go back and like refresh, like, man, we've actually got a lot done, because when you're in it, in the trenches, so my wife's my business partner as well. So she runs a lot of our rental stuff, and she's, does different things. And it's easy to get like stuck in that kind of mindset, like, oh man, there's like so much crap to do. And then you go back and you're like looking through photos or whatever. And it's like, holy crap, we did a lot of work this last year,
Yeah.
You got to sometimes pause. It's good to like take that break once in a while. Like we've done that a couple times. We've gone to like, gone on vacation and stuff and just like do that decompress thing. Like, hey man, we've actually got a lot done, and like kind of look at like what went well, what went bad, what was an absolute disaster. Cost me tons of money.
I'm totally guilty of that too, because it's like our saying goes, all gas, no brakes,
Sometimes you got to press the brakes and take an inventory of your life to understand where you came from.
This is 100%,
And get rid of stuff that's not serving you well. Because sometimes you just like keep kicking the same dead horse, and you're like, realistically, this is a terrible investment of my life.
But I just keep kicking it. I don't understand.
Yeah, and you want to push that gas, so hard to just because you see the growth and you just want to keep pushing.
Yeah.
But business growth it just takes time. Yeah. Right. And sometimes if you just push too hard, you kind of miss setting some of the things up. And I'm totally 100% guilty of this. And Tyler will be the first to critique me on sometimes.
Yeah. We blow past that exit. We're just like, exit.
Where's the U-turn sometimes, and you forget some of the minutia to set things in place to make it to where your growth is sustainable.
Yeah.
Or just alleviate potential headaches in the future.
Yeah, because you just grow at some point. I mean, and that's happened for me. You get started, and you're like, one day you're like, okay, I'm going to start a business, and I've got a helper and this, and then it just keeps growing and growing and growing, and then you've got all these other things that you're doing. And you're like, oh my God, I have my infrastructure is terrible, right? I need to parcel off a bunch of this crap that's on my desk that I can't deal with. I don't have time to handle.
It's all about that minutia word. There's so many little things in business that it is worth, for example, business owners or people that are actually the ones running the companies to literally delegate those minutia tasks, because there's no
Tyler's staring at me.
Yeah, we're gonna talk after that.
We actually are gonna talk after this, but no, minutia tasks are things I don't want to do because I know what I should be doing, and if there's paperwork to be done, I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm probably not the one that's gonna do it. Because we have other things that we need to do to keep moving forward. And so it takes a real good entrepreneur to understand how to put people in those roles to take care of that so you can continue to grow.
Yeah. And that involves the whole stopping long enough to actually get those things, but set them up so that they actually go forward correctly.
Yeah.
So,
and I've had this conversation with a lot of different business owners. It's you try to wear all the hats, but it's impossible to wear all the hats, right? But it's also... you have to not wear all the hats.
Yeah.
But it's also tough to not wear all the hats or try to control the hats or whatever it is, Yeah. And it's just, it's like you've built this baby, so you're like, it's like a mom. You're like,
yeah, exactly.
Give me back my baby. Yeah. You're like,
am I really the best person to be entering this crap in QuickBooks? Probably not. Right?
Yeah, most likely not. Yeah, QuickBooks.
Yes, I did do a
but
QuickBooks.
But if I mess it up, it's on me, not anybody else.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. So it's it's like this weird give and take in your brain of releasing control.
Yeah.
It's good for you, but there's this.
Yeah, 100%.
When
you start out, you don't have, I don't know how, lots of people, I'm sure you guys are not always super flush when you start a business. Most frequently we're just broke as fuck.
Right.
You're just trying to struggle to survive.
Right. So you have to wear the hats.
It's I still got to pay my house payment and, keep my kids fed.
Exactly. You're so do I actually have money to eat top ramen tomorrow?
Yeah.
Maybe.
So in that case, you start from that, and then you get to a certain point when it's okay, this isn't serving me at all. And that's kind of something that I had to, with the whole COVID thing and stuff, the admin side of it, that's the part that kind of caught me off guard. I had some health issues and stuff too that kind of kicked my butt, not related to COVID, but just some other issues right at that same time frame. And man, that was one of the toughest things. And I had to do some kind of looking at that, where am I at on this stuff? The admin time from running jobs, just because of resourcing material, repricing everything, because it's stretching out your build timeline months, doubling it, tripling it. It's you can't get cabinets for 8 months. What the heck, this is ridiculous.
And those cabinets now cost a shitload more money than they used to.
And they don't tell you, there's a shipping surcharge that, who the hell knows what that's going to be. It might be $200, might be $800, it's
We'll let you know when it ships.
Yeah, when it arrives.
So you're question mark.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good for, figuring out what the budget's going to be.
Exactly. And then they tell you, then the whole thing. So it's just, you end up, I would say it probably almost double admin time on the back side of jobs, which is a lot of time, for a small company, if I don't have a bunch of project managers or anything that are running all that stuff for me. And so, that's kind of me to go back in and double check all the stuff, let the client know, hey, this is what your final pricing is, what do we need to adjust? If we need to adjust at this point, where are we at and stuff. So that was an enlightening experience. And just not being able to predict, scheduling was just a nightmare. It's because you get, the stuff. No, and the deal is the supply chain is just broken. So even people that used to know, box stores never really have an idea of where their stuff's at in the supply chain. But your big, construction vendors and stuff, they know where they used to be able to tell you which ship, which sailing it's going to be on in general. Right. They'll be okay, it's going to be here in, 3 to 4 weeks or whatever. And it was fairly accurate right now. Last summer, they're
no idea.
Yeah, no idea. It's on a boat. Maybe.
Yeah.
Or it could be in a warehouse. We really have no idea, which is a unique experience to have all of them like that.
It's kind of crazy with contractors too, is because, well, you know, we do a lot of flips, houses and different rentals and stuff. And sometimes I get bids and I look at them like, there's no way you're doing a kitchen cabinets for $4,800. Are you kidding me? Yeah. And then I'll see like one that's like $25,000 to $30,000 kitchen, and I'm like, that's probably more realistic. And it's just crazy how many different bids I'll get and how many different like actual interpretations of what it actually will cost I get. And it goes back to like those new contractors and people just I want a business. Like I get some real bad bids and some really high bids.
Yeah, and they just throw stuff at it, throw it at it, and it's unfortunate because it creates instability in the market, because everybody's complains about how terrible contractors are and all this stuff, and it's like there's lots of unknowns and stuff, and that's one thing that I push for pretty hard, and I try to stick to that. I try not to give people an accurate number. As accurate as I can, and what I think it's actually going to cost based on my experience. It's like, this is what it's going to cost. I know you're not going to like this number, and I got lots of people that are flippers and stuff. Well, this guy can do it for half as much. I'm like, good luck, I mean, I know for a fact that if he's using the same materials that you're telling me you're going to use, there's no way in hell you're going to get done for that.
Yeah, when was the last time you priced it?
Yeah,
exactly.
So
I've been doing this for 4 years at the same price. I'm like,
the prices of all doubles. Yeah, I mean, just even stock cabinets. I know, like, I was just pricing one the other day, and it was like for some little apartment rental or something, and it was almost double what they used to be. It used to be like $1,000 for these particular style units, and it was like almost $2,000 for the same dummy cabinet.
So wild.
It's crazy, man.
So
yeah. So, well, having dealt with a lot of contractors, right, over the years, some are fantastic. Some are not so wonderful to deal with, right? Between either like just poor quality work, or communication is just not there, or like Tyler said, really inaccurate bids. So the bid you get and the price you think you're budgeting for is not remotely close to what you end up paying, right? Which would suck to get like halfway through a project, and then realize like the amount of the project is double.
Yeah, 100%. And lots of people just go out there and they just do like they'll just send some random estimator out there and they just throw a number at stuff. And it's like I hear stories constantly of people like, hey man, I mean this thing, I went with this guy and it came back twice as much as what it originally was supposed to be. And it comes down to like some of it's just experience. I mean it's not always people being malicious. Sometimes it's just lack of experience or just not caring too much. Not going back and looking at what jobs actually cost at the end of the day, figuring that out. I mean, you really need to look at that stuff. And I do my own flips, I do my own rentals, all that stuff. I do flips for partners and for clients too. So,
just so everybody heard that, he does do flips because I get asked constantly, who do I call to help me with flips for construction? Ben Persinger Construction's right here. Just FYI.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Or if you download the Ask Connect app.
He's in there too.
You're a GC in there. So
awesome. So I'm working on some other vendors for you.
Awesome. So love it. So need some more peoples.
Yeah. No, it's and it's one of those things like, and it's a give and take thing. You see tons of it, and it's unfortunate because you see it on social media. I'm sure if you follow the flipping groups and stuff, you see all these people get 3 bids, get all this stuff, and it's like you get.
How do you get 3 bids?
Like good luck, I mean, and the people are completely unrealistic. Like I mean, they want to pay pennies on the dollar and make hundreds of thousands of dollars on these flips, and they have no idea what they're doing. It's like that's a train wreck. Like any decent contractor is going to walk from that, So I mean, there's got to be a give and take and a certain trust relationship.
Here comes this question for you, Ben. All right. So being a flipper, I have learned that you don't make hundreds of thousands of dollars flipping. You make maybe $20,000, maybe $15,000, depending on tax situation. Do you agree with that? To make a perfect flip, do you think you're making 100,000s or like you're making a little bit of money and you're just doing a lot of them?
It depends, I would say. It really depends on how much you're hiring out, what you're doing yourself, what you value your time at. For me to do them, I need to make a fairly decent amount of money on them to make it worthwhile. Right. I look at I look at tons of houses. I'm looking at houses every day, basically, but I don't buy very many of them. I do most, and so But yeah, I would say the bulk, if you're subbing all the stuff out, you're not really very hands-on. I mean, probably after taxes and everything, obviously,
Yeah, 20,
your gross
30.
should be, it is higher than that. But I would say that's probably accurate, probably, between 50 and, I mean, most of the time, depending, especially in the Anchorage market, just because everything's expensive.
Really, it's inflated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know how to get a deal where you can make that 100,000.
Well, there's tons of people that are willing to pay too much for them. I mean, and
Right.
then they expect to, they go and look at these crazy low numbers to renovate them. It's like, that's not realistic.
It's not accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need to look at things. I mean, big stuff that I always catch people on is like whether or not, you look at your electric service, look at your plumbing. Like, what's the deal with the panels? Are they all, some terrible Pushmatic panel with no grounds? I mean, it's like, that's a mess. Just sort out.
Those Pushmatics, by the way, are super expensive.
They are.
Yeah, we almost caught our house on fire with those Pushmatic. It was
Well, it wasn't the Pushmatic. It was just the 1964 220 service that came into a light switch that we had no idea.
Between Pushmatic like service boxes and old ass, I'm not kidding you, this was like a 2 foot by 2 foot wide copper dimmer from back in the day.
Wow.
It was huge, man. Had like all the coiler wrap around it and stuff.
Well, me and Justin were trying to be
hums
electricians.
and all the lights in the neighborhood dim when you turn it on.
Dude,
Oh yeah,
it was legit.
It was bad. So we took the face
funny
panel.
story.
We took the face panel off, and it's grounded. So as soon as I took that face panel off, and I took the pliers to grab the rest of the thing, pull it off the wall, it started arcing real bad.
Wow.
And good thing I had insulated pliers
Yep.
because it was smoking, and my hand I could not get it off the little prong, and him being obviously smart.
That's not good.
No,
I'm like breaker, and the whole wall is like smoking, and I'm like, we're gonna catch the house on fire. Justin goes and pops the breaker, it stops. I'm like trying to get these pliers off this wall, not good.
Hopefully my insurance agent is not listening to this right now.
Nope, don't worry, the house is fine.
Yeah, no kidding. Yes, I mean, that's the things that people don't catch, I mean, they think, oh, yeah, it's just a kitchen and a bathroom. It's like, okay, yeah, are the drains and decent, is it all galvanized pipes, like what, how do you efficiently get this thing renovated, right?
Yeah.
Is it all banjo meter and there's no disconnect for
Those
it,
are some of the most expensive trades too, is electrical and plumbing.
Yeah, pretty much,
you're paying $150, $185 an hour for some trade to come out.
Yep.
And do whatever.
Yeah.
So if you're have got major electrical and plumbing stuff to do, you're breaking into the thousands pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, you just look at, the thing I always tell people is like, especially if you're doing like you're kind of GCing it yourself, lots of people think they're going to GC it, they're going to save all this money. It's like, make sure you understand how to coordinate all these trades and stuff, because if you just hire a plumber to do X, they're going to give you X bid, and you hire an electrician to do X. It's versus having somebody that knows how to put that all together. So I mean, if I'm doing one, I get my plumber in there, I get my electrician in there. I'm like, okay, well, how do we set this up to make this the most efficient way to go? Do we need to build a chase? Do we need to fur out a wall? Do we just need to put a whole new panel in the building, just run new feeders and just delete everything that was there?
Right.
Like, what is the most efficient way to get it? And they'll think they're saving money by saving a little bit of sheetrock. It's like, no, you need to just blow all this out of here and just run it all through the crawl space, stub it all up where it needs to go.
Yep.
And you've got a whole brand new system, and just move on with your life. And it's all beauteous, and you can sell it, and it's a good product at that time too. You can feel good about passing it on.
That's why I try to buy houses with no sheetrock in it.
Yep.
That helps.
Gotta love wood paneling. I'm doing one right now. It's wood paneling. I'm like, yes.
I feel like this is why new construction people love new construction.
Yeah.
Because when you get into remodeling,
Yeah.
you just don't know what you're breaking into, or someone else's garbage you're opening it up. You know what I mean?
This flip we bought in Souther's Bay. I was walking through it the other day, and I was like, why is there 4 security camera or like security head units? I'm like, these people are serious. And there's like random wires running down the walls, and I'm like, sweet, yeah,
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Especially with the older homes in Anchorage.
You find the most weird stuff too at like homes that you're flipping. We found Pokemon cards. We found all kinds. I found a huge jar of weed.
Yeah,
That's great.
I just tore a grow out of one.
Hey, we did too.
Yeah, it's a closet grow.
Yeah. This guy looked like he had the most of the downstairs of a house I'm flipping.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
A little bit more than the one we found in our Sellers Bay flip.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they used to be all over the place. Here in town.
Yeah.
It's just constant. We used to run into them all
so
the time.
what are some of the biggest headaches that you deal with as a general contractor?
Probably, I would say probably the biggest thing is probably staffing is probably one of the biggest challenges right now. It's not necessarily a huge headache, like as in bad employees, just finding good help that, that really building that team that's good. I scaled down some just because my health stuff there for a little while, so I'm kind of building back up at this point. And I don't anticipate ever growing super huge, but yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Repricing, just trying to managing people's expectations, honestly, is probably a massive part of running these jobs and having go successfully. Yeah. Because it's not, especially in renovations and flips and stuff like that, it's not about, it's not when or if something happens, it's going to happen. You're going to have stuff that's going to come up 100%, especially if it's older homes.
Right.
You can't plan your way through that 100%.
No. You're gonna have extra costs that pop up.
Or you're going to be wildly over. The other option is you just, add a 40% contingency to all your numbers, and and there's guys that do that. That's how they run
That's wild.
So that's why you get these.
If I saw a 40% contingency on any of my bids, I'd be like, yeah, hard pass.
But dude, it's you just don't know what you're gonna break into with some of the older places. Especially the stuff that was built in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Or
60s.
or the 60s.
Or the 50s. There's some 40s out there too,
Oh, yeah. I've worked on a few of those.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it's just, construction just was different.
It
40, 50 years ago.
Yep.
Especially here in Anchorage, we just didn't have as many building codes. And
it was like non-existent.
Yeah. So
whatever you could find, you just used, I've seen houses with, just absurd floor plans and stuff. Like I went through a house a little while ago, and the whole crawl space was it looked like a bridge. It looked like cribbing in a mine. There was just like, they had supported the entire floor system off of like 4x4s and 2x2s. Because nice. Apparently they had no, they did. I mean, it seemed to be stable. Of course, the inspector was like, "Get a contractor in here to look at it." And I'm like, "It's held up for 50 years. They just didn't want to put any beams in there, so they had, it was one of those old tongue and groove floors, that they had with 2x6 floor joists or something on like 4-foot centers, and so they just cribbed the whole crawl space full of.
They're like, this looks like it's going to work. We're just going to go with that.
Jeez.
Yep. And I was like, and that's, I've run into lots of kind of crazy stuff like that, and especially in the old house.
That. Yeah, big time.
And they just built with whatever they had at that time. So.
Right.
And you can find the ones that didn't work because they're all red tagged from the earthquake.
This is also true.
Those are my favorite.
But I've also walked into there was actually, there was some decent construction still going on, right?
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the older homes in like South Addition downtown area, like they were craftsman style homes, built pretty decently well.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't have the most, energy efficient stuff and in the walls and whatnot, lead based single pane windows and stuff like that. I'm replacing some right now in one of them, but
just don't eat the paint.
Yeah,
that's the moral of that story.
Yeah, just just need someone to come in and take a look at whatever.
Yeah,
it seems like the late 60s into the 70s, the oil boom period.
Yeah, there was a lot of super shady.
Just people were throwing stuff up.
Yeah, they had to, though, because so many people are coming up to Alaska to work the oil field, so they didn't have a choice. They had to throw housing up.
Literally, throwing housing up. That's why, that big portion of like Sand Lake, Jewel Lake got red tagged. They just built them in swamps without.
Yeah.
Yo, I know the builder from back then, and that's what he told me. He was like, yeah, we didn't have time to like decide what to do. We had to have structures for people coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe it. It's Sand Lake and stuff just got annihilated with that with that earthquake. There was a bunch of, just there's poor, combination of bad building and poor soil, work, and even you see it in some of the new stuff too. There's some new stuff that's been built that's pretty questionable how that would hold up. But, I think the code stuff, I mean, the engineering and stuff definitely helped, go through the engineering and stuff like that and do the soils work and stuff like that, because that is important. I mean, especially if you're building in poor soil areas, for sure. And water mitigation, I mean, that's a big deal.
Huge.
I mean, and that's one thing that I would say is probably kind of a downside of a lot of these, or not a lot of them, but a number of these new developments, that they're poor,
they're sitting on silt.
Yeah, they're sitting on silt, and they aren't managing the water sufficiently.
No.
The snow clearing, all this stuff. It all comes down to like they're trying to cram more units into a square foot, than.
Yeah. I've ran into that with some of the new builds or like new condo associations and whatnot that have been built within the last like 10, 15 years.
It's you're going to have to truck snow every freaking snowfall because there's no place to put it.
Or it just seems like they, every spring they've got just a massive amount of crawl space water or whatnot, just because it was an afterthought for some of these places,
Yep.
Your crawl space is going to flood. You're like, what? Yeah, no, it's definitely going to flood.
Yeah, like we talked before this, right? And it's like you throw a few feet of, fill in, compact it down, and then you build something, you're like, the water's fine. Well, your crawl space is more than 3 feet, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's weird to see like the city's requirements for stuff and then what they let go.
Yeah.
And then what they require people to do.
It's like a wild, wild west out there.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like if you're a larger builder, you tend to get,
It moves it along a little quicker.
Moves along quicker where if I was walking, they have no idea who the hell I was. I might have a little bit more of a challenge of getting something through.
Yeah.
Just because, they probably just have no idea who I am.
Yeah.
I don't have those relationships built.
Yeah.
It's who knows.
Yeah,
right?
there's a lot of factors that go into it.
A lot of factors. I know there's a lot of contractors and builders and whatnot who are pretty, frustrated with some of the city's, zoning and Title 21 requirements and permitting and, some of their astronomical permitting fees.
Yeah, it gets to be pretty expensive for, and I wish it would be awesome if they would adopt some stuff that would allow us to do renovations on certain types of structures and not bring them all the way to the current code, because that's kind of the tough thing. And unfortunately, that kind of affects all the affordable housing. Because they always keep touting. The part that is just a conflict to me, at least.
It is a conflict.
It's like, oh, we want to provide all this affordable housing. It's like none of your affordable housing is even remotely affordable. If you look at it actually costs per square foot, it's insanely expensive.
Yeah.
Like insanely expensive.
Yeah.
The only reason it's affordable is because it's massively subsidized by taxpayer money, right?
100%. Federally and locally.
Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
Yeah. So, which it's great. I have no problem. Like, there's people that legitimately need subsidized housing and whatnot. But it's like, if you want to make affordable housing, figure out a way to allow people to renovate all these rundown 1980s built 10 plexes, 8 plexes, and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. There's a boatload of them sitting around town. They're just getting destroyed because it's so expensive to upgrade them. And it's not like you would be. I'm a big fan of being safe and doing stuff correctly and stuff, but it's like there's got to be, there's limitations to how, without tearing the whole building down, what do you do to bring that up to a safe, habitable home,
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, there has to be, if you own a building, right, you still have to cash flow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It has to make economic sense
does.
at some point.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
A few years back, the city was going through this whole proposal with Assembly of requiring all new construction homes to have sprinkler systems.
Yeah.
Right?
That's an extra freaking $30,000.
Yeah. So I'm like, we want to talk about affordable housing and how housing's too expensive in Anchorage, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, now you want to add a $30,000 to $40,000 price tag to every single build.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, now you got to arc fault your entire electric panel, basically.
I was going to say, because of water.
Each breaker. Well, no, like nowadays, they've upgraded the electric code to where we have to arc fault everything.
Oh, really?
I argue with my electrician all the time about it. I'm like, this is crap.
Yeah.
So you have to arc fault all of them now?
Basically everything, I think, except for like bathroom and a garage or something now. I think it is. I don't know what it is.
Gracious.
But each breaker is like triple the cost of what they used to be.
It's insane, dude.
So a panel is, and then you got to, and it's fine to have home runs and all that stuff. Sufficient circuits, but the problem is that they trip so easy, and then everybody's back to running extension cords from their garage to run stuff. And that was the whole reason that we went to GFCIs and everything, because people were burning their freaking haciendas down because they're running extension cords through there and the dog's chewing them off. Like, this isn't helping us. I plug my vacuum in and I kill my whole kitchen.
Got the whole house on fire.
So
I don't know.
Yeah. Some of it makes sense. I know Title 21's been one of those like big issues for a lot of people, for just, new construction builders. I mean, developers having to work around Title 21. I mean, some of it makes sense. Some of it is just really overreaching.
Yep. It's bureaucracy. I mean, there's a lot of green energy things that they've slipped in there and stuff, and it's kind of bowing to different political things and whatnot.
But at the same day, somebody has to pay for it, right?
Yep.
And if you hamstring people to where it doesn't make monetary economic sense, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
or they do it substandard, and that's the part that I think is super unfortunate, because then people just go hire some hack to do it, and they do it without permits, and it's like, who's winning at that? Like, that's not fixing the problem.
Right.
It's a lose-lose for everybody.
Yeah. Because then people go and buy houses that some crackhead handyman went through and rewired, a few years ago, and they've got buried splices and like super unsafe stuff, and it's like, that's not, so that's like, it's like, it'd be awesome if you can come up with a way to do like a limited scope update to some of these houses. It's like, it's not a fire, it didn't burn down, it didn't, we're not modifying the structure, we just need to do a safety upgrade to this thing. Like, how can we legitimately do that without demoing the whole building and starting over, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's really a frustrating process, having been down in the permit office and staying there and trying to work through their permitting people. Like, even the people that have been there for a decade plus, you go in there for certain permits, you go and get these permits, right? Yeah. And then, like, I'm walking out of the permit office and they're like, what were you doing? Like, someone else in the permanent office was like overhearing what I was doing and what was issued.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you don't need those permits. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, you have two people working in the same office, 15 feet apart, who can't agree on what's needed to pull a fireplace.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, this is insane.
Yeah.
So, they want you to be, of course, the city wants you to have the proper permits, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't even know you have to have a demo permit to demo your own shit, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
But they make it so just confusing when you walk into that office.
Yeah.
They're like, as a contractor, you got a contractor's license attached to all that. So, of course, permitting is an issue for you guys. But for Johnny homeowner,
it's
like, they're going to walk in and then be like, fuck this. I'm walking out. Like, let's just take the risk, right? Because
I'm just going to hire my buddies and a 6-pack of beer
100%,
and my truck
man,
on the weekend, and we're just going
here's
to
some
blaze
Moose's
it
Tooth. Here's a 12-pack of Coors. Like, let's go, right? Let's build this deck.
What can go wrong?
Yeah, but they make it so confusing, so expensive.
Yeah.
And the general homeowner is just not going to do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No. Yeah.
And they won't do, doesn't do things right. I mean, that's the part that stinks, and it gets to be pretty expensive, for lots of houses too. I mean, if you're doing like a small kitchen update or something, if you got electrical, plumbing, and you probably have to pull a structural because you've removed so many square feet of drywall. You're supposed to pull structural. I mean, that's you can easily be $1,500 for a little kitchen update just for permits, inspections, and it's like literally they come by and they're like, yeah, it looks good, like,
they don't even,
okay, I'm supposed to have a vapor barrier inspection. I'm supposed to have a screw pattern inspection, for a little scrap of drywall. That part that gets kind of frustrating to me.
Right.
And they have improved certain things with the mechanical and the electrical permitting, and they can do the retro permits, like they basically remove and replace of something, a like-kind upgrade or whatever they call it, basically. And that's kind of what I wish they would allow us to do, or do photo, stuff. Because I mean, it literally it's $1,500 for that, but then you waste, several days of dinking around waiting for, a permit, an inspection to patch this little spot of drywall. It's like, come on, man, like, this is crazy. You know?
I know it's frustrating, so hopefully they do something. Hopefully, something happens where they realize, like, the city is stifling development.
Yeah, that's really what I'm trying to do. I mean, and that's what I'm a big proponent of. It's like, I'm not opposed to having permitting inspections. I just want it to be efficient for me. It's like, why can't I not upload stuff in an efficient manner? Like, they have an e-permit stuff, and they've started getting that better. Where you can upload stuff, but the lead time and the lag time, it just it gets backburnered so bad, it takes forever to get your stuff. So it's like, why can I not be just in a queue? Just like I can submit my crap, I can submit pictures, I can, you know, like in this day and age, why can we not just
make
upload
it just
all this
more
stuff?
efficient? Yeah,
You know, because and make it affordable and efficient for us contractors. That's really what I'd like. Is like, if you can do that, like I'll pull permits. Like there's not like that makes sense to me, right? But if I got to go, you know, if it costs me $1,500 and I got to go sit there for freaking half a day and babysit or send an employee down there to sit there on the clock for half a day to walk a permit through for a deck, like
That's insane.
That's like, why?
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
It should not be this difficult.
No, but unfortunately it is, man. Like,
No, I know. Yeah.
down there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then you get, you know, like I said, I think I paid like 600 something bucks or something, somewhere around there for
a permit you didn't need.
no, multiple permits.
Oh.
I had to get a flood certification for a second story fireplace removal.
Just in case.
I was like, listen,
What's
I was like, if this floods, we're all fucked.
Yeah.
Like
We got bigger
You're going to need
issues
to be
than a
better
permit.
friends with Noah at that point.
yeah,
So.
like, yeah, we're going to need an arc because here I am on a bluff,
Yeah.
30 feet in the air off a bluff, right? On the second story.
Yeah.
If like this floods,
Yeah.
there's going to be some major issues.
We need more.
Like,
We need more than a permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me. Anchorage is underwater.
Building safety is not going to help you at that
No.
point. So, you know, and it's one of those things. Like, I mean, I work with them, you know, and I would encourage people, like, do your best to work with them. You know, it's definitely not the route, you know, going and being antagonistic to them and trying to buck the whole system is not the way to go. I mean, I'm hoping for some viable solutions, you know,
Yeah.
as things go forward, you know. And
Yeah, they just need to adjust.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, I think if they made it a little bit more affordable, more efficient,
Yeah.
I think they would get more homeowner like
Yeah.
applications and
Make
ease
the
of
dang
process.
thing, like, simple to do.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of like an archaic system of filling out one of like 8,000 forms on
Yeah,
the wall.
decoding
you know,
the
it's
Morse
like-
code over
like,
here.
Good Lord, you know, like it's just
At least get, you know, the employees on the same page.
they've had.
for
I know
what
they've
is
had an
needed.
extremely difficult time finding employees. Like
Yes.
super hard time. Like I know they were down to like 2 people like reviewing permits like during COVID. There was literally I think there was. I mean, yeah, it was ridiculous. They went from
They were backed up for months.
Yeah.
Like backlog was months.
I literally had to walk down there for a COSA cert and sit there for 6 hours. I was not leaving until I got that thing, and it worked. But
Yeah.
they like that was same time. There's about 2 or 3 in there, and they were just like, "We are so backed up. We're so sorry. Like
Yeah.
we're not doing this on purpose."
Yeah,
We
it's
just-
not them being malicious. It's just
No,
literally
it's just
they
they're
got,
backlogged.
Yeah, majorly. And
Yeah.
there was a booming building. It was just a whole storm
Caveat.
of things. And I mean, I know because I was getting in the middle of like. Problem was during COVID is you couldn't go in there and wait in line.
No.
Right? There was no desk at that point.
Right.
So, you know, it definitely the circle file was just like growing by the day. It's like, you know, the vortex to hell. You know, you go over there and drop your stuff off, and you know, call somebody and beg them to look at your stuff. You know, and
Yeah.
it was just. I mean, I felt bad for them because I know like the supervisors over there and stuff were just dying. You know, trying to get all these stuff reviewed. You know, and it's like I'm sorry, but I need. You know, it's freaking September and I need these deck permits because I've got to build this crap before winter, you know?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
100%,
and
man.
it cost me a lot of money too because I had to lay stuff into the winter and some of them I just ended up moving ahead. I'm like, you know what, guys? Like, we're going to build this. You can inspect it when it's, you know, when it gets issued. And they, most of the time, for the most part, they were
cool
understanding.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They understood. I mean, they're like, I'm sorry, we're doing the best we can. So
Yeah, it's
hopefully it's improving. I think they've hired a few people over there.
Their online system's actually gotten way better too.
Which was good. That's really what they need
That
to work on.
was-
It's like their info, like frequently asked questions or some, you know, having that stuff to where like kind of a flow chart, you know, permitting flow chart would be amazing.
I'll tell
So-
you what, if they can do the hunting permits so fast with all those people, you know what I mean? Like they can do build permits. I don't know if you've seen the statistics on how many people actually put in for hunting tags on December 15th, but it is incredible. And they can figure it out.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm pretty sure you just don't want to piss off a lot of people with guns. Okay.
Maybe they're better funded. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who
Is
knows?
ADFG funded better? I don't know.
They make a shit ton of money off all that permitting.
I know,
For
but
hunting permits.
I
But
know,
you
I've made
think if the Muni did that for building, they would make just as much money and it would be more efficient.
Who knows?
It was a rabbit hole.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting adventure. And there's some ways to navigate it and stuff that help somewhat. But if they could do some stuff to limit the ambiguity and stuff, and what they actually require, I mean, that's a big problem. There was a ton, at least for a while, there was a huge amount of stuff where they were like, it was just all going back and forth as far as, how, what they were requiring from different people, and that was really frustrating for lots of folks. So,
yeah. Tyler shifting over here to our studio mic.
Right on with that.
Yeah.
What up?
Well, as far as how long have we been on here? Close to an hour, huh?
It's 9:46.
Yeah,
or 56.
Complaining about permitting. So
yeah,
contractor about permitting.
we could spend hours on permitting. But as far as all the things that you learned in business, we ask every single person that comes on, and that is, we want to provide this as like a resource for people to just listen about business owners and entrepreneurs.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
Yeah,
it's just super awesome.
What they go through to start a business, they're kind of their story, and of course, people griping about permitting.
Yeah.
But but what are 5 takeaways or just tips that you can give someone who's looking to start a business or that wants to be an entrepreneur?
Man, that's I have to think about that. But
it's a loaded question.
That's a lot of things. But I would say, so one of the big things, I actually did think about this briefly before we came in here. But I would say career learning. And by career learning, I don't mean just learning about your job or whatever, but just learn. And that's what I would tell people, especially folks that are starting out. And I don't know, it's kind of I feel like it's part of, like, I hate to be like that old guy that's griping about all the young generation, young fellers, they're not worth anything. But it's like, pay attention, like, be interested in what's going on around you. Yeah. Even if you're not doing it, like, it'll make you a better human. It'll make you more marketable.
Be a sponge.
Just because you can talk to people, right?
Yeah.
If you want to make it in real estate, all that stuff, if you want to make it in construction, you want to make it in any business, learn about other stuff. Like, just absorb information. Just because you'll be a more interesting person to talk to for one, and you'll learn some cool crap, I mean, that's, instead of just, because I feel like people just kind of get on this mindset of just, being entertained by TikTok and Reels, and, you're just kind of you're seeing stuff, but you're not really like absorbing information that benefits your life, So that's kind of one thing I would say. Networking, build your network, build up other people, and work with other people, because that's nobody that doesn't, in my opinion, nobody in this business or in construction or any of these kind of industries, like where we, the kind of stuff that we do and you guys do. I mean, it's all about your network. It's all about knowing how to get stuff done. Like, I'm 100% not the best general contractor out there by any means. I'm pretty good at troubleshooting, solving problems, and fixing, figuring stuff out. But I just know lots of people and how to get, there's lots of people that are a lot smarter than me that know how to get stuff done, and that's, I mean, half the time it doesn't even have to relate to construction. A lot of times it relates to, whatever it is, how to get a COSA passed, how to get, appraiser to sign off on something, whatever it is, just solving those kind of issues. And a lot of times people just throw up their hands. And I do see that that's one thing I will have a gripe with some of the, the agents and stuff that are, the newer folks getting into not even newer, but just people that just don't really think creatively about doing that stuff. It's like, solve your clients' problems instead of just throwing up your hands and telling them to go solve their problems, because that's why they're hiring you.
They pay you a lot of money to do that.
Yeah. And they'll be your best friend if you figure out how to get their problem off of their desk and off their, they're trying to move, they're going through divorce, they're whatever, they're trying to sell grandma's hoarder house, whatever it is, that will make you, pay a lot of dividends. So, let's see here. I guess that's a couple. I don't know.
So we got education, so like be a sponge.
Yep.
Network.
Yep.
Relationship building.
Relationship building. Work hard. Just I mean, sometimes you just need to embrace the suck. If you're going to be a business owner, or I mean, even in your just investing in your career,
I like that one.
You just got to get out there and just
embrace the suck.
Yep. And I mean, if you do that for a while, it doesn't suck as bad, and you get good at it, and then people pay lots of money to do it.
Right.
Or you can pay somebody else to do it. You don't have to do that anymore,
Yeah.
So, the other thing is I would say be humble. Don't, and I know that goes contrary to a lot of what, kind of the whole push for, hustle till you die kind of mindset that corporate America is just, kind of, embodies right now. But it's like, I think it's possible to be humble and you know, and have a I don't know the best way to phrase that, but
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah,
you know,
never feel like somebody's too low. Like in my crews, like I grew up in construction crews with lots of minions and grunts, and it was the old school construction environment. It was a really rough, not a really pleasant environment to work in, you know, for the most part. And it's like I work really hard to not have that on my crews because I value the dude digging a hole as much as the guy doing high-end finish work, because if his ass isn't digging a hole, I'm down there doing it, right? So, you know, and, you know, sometimes, and you can do a huge amount of good for your crews and for your folks if you jump in there and help them out. When push comes to shove and it sucks and it's raining and you're down in a hole, it makes a big difference if the boss jumps in there and helps shovel with you.
100%.
Right? You know, I mean, you can earn really loyal, good workers that way.
Yeah, and I've seen I think an analogy what you're trying to get at, and I think might be relevant, is treat the janitor the same as you would the CEO.
Yep.
Right.
Because I mean, who wants to have a dirty ass office? I mean, how does that make you look if there's a bunch of crap on your
Everyone's
floor?
a person, man.
Yeah.
They all deserve a level of respect, right?
Yeah.
No matter what job they have.
Yeah. And some people are really proud of that, and they're, you know, that's, you know, I mean, and honestly, maybe that's a great fit for them. Maybe that's, you know, maybe that's what they're capable of. Maybe that's a choice. I mean, they, you know, I've known some wealthy people that did very menial jobs, you know, just because they're like, dude, this is what I like to do. You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. 100%, man.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think I mean, that is, but that's a few of them. So
awesome.
That's probably what I would say. So,
well, awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah.
And how can people get a hold of you?
Permitting forever.
No, it's okay. Like I said, we can go on for forever. But give people a little bit of idea how they can get a hold of you.
So probably the best way to get a hold of me is just through my website or call me. My phone number and emails on my website. That's the best way to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Facebook. I'm not great at checking the messaging and stuff on that. I need to set that up better. But my website's persingerconstruction.com. So
Okay.
yeah, pretty straightforward. That has my phone number and stuff on there, and phone or text or whatever is usually the best way to get a hold of me for sure. So I'm on that, you know, all the time or fairly regular. So,
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the best. Facebook is the best place to look and see what we're doing currently. We try to post more stuff to that right now.
Nice.
So, but yeah.
Cool, man.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for coming on and you know, shooting the shit with us and kind of give us an insight of general contracting and kind of how you got going.
Yeah.
And yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks
buddy.
a lot.
Thanks,
All
man.
right. Bye.